El Corliss. Let us join our hearts and minds in the quiet of meditation and prayer. How shall we pray? First, let us be open to the silence. Let us hear the sounds in this room, the noises outside, and the creaking of our pews as we get comfortable. Let us begin to hear the soft beating of our hearts, and let us listen intently for messages from within. Next, let us feel gratitude for our lives and for our beautiful earth. As hard as life gets, or as sad or lonely as we sometimes feel, let us always be warmed by the gifts of this life. Next, let us hold in our hearts all those, known or unknown, who are in need. May we find in ourselves the energy and knowledge to bring care to this world. And finally, let us be aware of the blessing that it is not ours alone to do the work of the world. Love and community work wonders that we by ourselves could never manage. In this time of silence, let us form our own prayers out of the concerns of our hearts. Amen, and may it be so.
Our reading this morning is Listening with the Heart by Gary Kowalski. Maybe prayer doesn't mean talking to God at all. Maybe it means just listening, unplugging the TV, turning off the computer, quieting the mental chatter and distractions. Maybe it means listening to the birds and the insects, the wind in the leaves, the creaking and groaning of the trees, noticing who else is out there, not far away, but nearby, sitting so still we can hear our heartbeat. Watch our breath, the gentle whoosh of air, the funny noises from our own insides, marveling at the body we take so much for granted. Maybe it means listening to our dreams, paying more attention to what we really want from life, and less attention to all the nagging, scolding voices from our past. Or maybe it's all about listening to each other, not thinking ahead to how we can answer or rebuke or parry or advise or admonish, but actually being present to each other. Perhaps if we just sit quietly, we'll overhear a peace whispering through the centuries that's missing from the clamor of the moment. Maybe prayer means listening to the silences between the words, noticing the negativity of space, the vast, undifferentiated, and nameless wonder that underlies it all. Maybe prayer doesn't mean talking to God at all, but listening with the heart to the angel choirs all around us. Those who have ears, let them hear. Once again, I just want to say how honored I am to have been asked to speak to you about soundscape and music and how it affects our bodies and our mind. There is good news, and then there's also some troubling news, which I'm going to start with the troubling news first and end with the good news. First, I want to say a little bit about myself. I've been playing and studying music for about 50 years, and about 15 years ago, I attended a 6-week intensive certification workshop in San Francisco to study psychoacoustics. Psychoacoustics is the scientific study of sound, perception, and audiology. How humans perceive various sounds. More specifically, it is the branch of science studying the psychological and physiological responses associated with sound. We learned about vibrational medicine, which is based on the scientific principle that all matter vibrates. We also learned about sound healing. Sound healing is the use of sound and music to treat symptoms of depression, anxiety, autism, PTSD, sleep disorder, just to name a few. This may include brainwave synchronization, scientifically measuring the frequencies of our voices, using tuning forks to help the body heal itself or tune itself, singing bowl therapy, which has been around since the 12th century and has been used in meditation rituals in Tibetan culture. There's also singing into another person's body, using the frequency of our voice and the intention between both people to help heal and heal. And even laying under a piano and feeling the vibrations through our bodies. I think some people are familiar with that here. Are you aware of your soundscape? Now in the TED Talk, I had a recording of loud bangs and jets and nature sounds and sirens, but my computer crashed last night right after the last word of this paper. So I wasn't able to have that recording for you, but you can imagine what that sounds like. We have a new modern plague called noise pollution. Our society is barraged with intrusive, pervasive, omnipresent, and unhealthy noise all of the time. Whether it's airplanes, trucks, loud motorcycles, leaf blowers, construction, cell phones on speaker in public, loud bass from cars, I could go on. There is a name now for what is happening in our sonic environment. It's called aural litter, acoustical litter. And if you could see what you hear, it would be like seeing fast food wrappers everywhere, just thrown out of the window as we drive along. Sound goes through our ears to the sympathetic nervous system, which activates the fight or flight response, which is the ability to instantaneously determine whether to hit the ground running or prepare for fight. Our hearing is constantly on because it keeps us safe. A throwback to the caveman days, we carry this fight or flight response with us today, but instead of worrying about saber-toothed tigers, we're more inclined to be dodging cars as we cross the street. This fight or flight response is a hormonal response. Our adrenal glands will produce adrenaline, which will increase our heart rate, dilate our pupils, and prepares us for anything. This even happens if we sleep through it. If we are exposed to these intrusive sounds long enough, it can raise our blood pressure, make us more vulnerable to cardiovascular disease, create anxiety, sleep deprivation, and all of the physical, cognitive, and emotional issues that arise from being too distracted to focus on complex tasks. The World Health Organization estimates that in Western Europe, at least 1 million healthy lifespan years are lost annually due to traffic-related noise alone. And studies have shown that school children who are exposed to high levels of train, automobile, and aircraft noise suffer impairment in reading and memory. In the workplace, the open plan office space was initially a great idea to create community and interconnectedness. But it has been found that the sound mix inhibits the employee's abilities to recall information and perform basic tasks. Hence, many of those people wear earbuds to control their soundscape. Sound can be nutritious or toxic. Nutritious for me would be silence, nature sounds, music I love, and voices of people I'm close to. Toxic for me would be loud airplanes, trucks, leaf blowers, construction, loud motorcycles. You see, our ability to hear relies on 15,000 hair cells in our inner ear called cilia. These hair bundles convert sound vibrations into electrical signals which travel to the brain. Once these hairs have been flattened by prolonged high-volume sound, there is no prescription for them to regrow as of yet. Although they have found recently that one of the side effects of a drug for Alzheimer's is allowing the cilia hair to regrow. There are companies in Boston and Amsterdam racing to see who can isolate that effect right now. Scientists have begun to document the effects of human-generated sound on non-humans, which include noise pollution in our oceans, and how the sonic environment is affecting our whales and other species. One of the ongoing research projects happening at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute is that of a sort of waterproof iPhone that records sound and movement that they can attach to the whales' backs with suction cups. What they have discovered is that some species are more sensitive than others to sonar. Sonar is short for sound navigation and ranging. It is used for exploring and mapping the ocean using sound waves because they travel farther in the water than do radar and light waves. Sonar is also used by the military and by scientists to determine direction and distance of what it is looking for. Whales and dolphins have their own sonar to identify underwater objects and to help find food. With these underwater iPhones suctioned to the whales' backs, they have discovered that if the whales hear sonar, they will stop foraging, leave the area, and not come back for several days. Sometimes, frightened whales who have been triggered by naval exercises using sonar bolt toward the surface and die of decompression sickness, or the bends, or of an arterial gas embolism. Human-related sound in the seas can also interfere with mating calls, thereby reducing the reproductive success of many species. The loudest human sounds in the oceans are made from seismic air guns, which are used to search for undersea deposits of oil and natural gas. So what can we do about our soundscape? In public, we can be aware of our own sound output, whether it's how loudly we are speaking or the decibel levels and rings on our phones. There is good news. We can do a lot to lessen our sonic footprint here. As stated in the New Yorker this May in an article labeled, "Is Noise Pollution the Next Big Public Health Crisis?" Here are several innovations that could improve sonic environments. Freighters and cargo ships could physically isolate engines from metal hulls, or shape propellers in ways that they produce less shock waves in the water. Subway cars could roll on rubber tires, as some do in Paris. There could be laws that motorcycles could have EPA volume-approved exhaust systems. We'll be hearing them in about an hour. On Sundays, they usually come through here. Earbuds could have volume limits on them. Directional sirens could significantly reduce or eliminate noise for people not in the path of an emergency vehicle. The other good news is that we can use something called entrainment to help us become less stressed or more energized. In physics, entrainment is the effect of one system on another. In music, entrainment is the process of our three internal rhythms, heart rate, breathing, and brain waves, synchronizing with an external rhythm. Proximity and volume are a key factor for this to happen. We are entraining ourselves all of the time. When we want to work out, we put faster rhythmic music that will entrain our heart rate to speed up and in turn allow us to be more physical. We entrain ourselves to relax when we play slower music that slows our heart rate so that we can relax. To bring the awareness of sound into a spiritual context, in being mindful of sound, we can also be aware of our voice when we are speaking. What is our tone? Sometimes it's not what we say, but how we say it, because our tone reveals very much our inner emotional scape. One of the reasons I live here in this beautiful town next to a national park is because I can walk and within minutes be surrounded by silence. This is a gift. We do not have jets going through our sky very much at all. Enjoy this gift we have here. After the last election, I had a lot of friends who were really stressed out. I thought, well, what can I do? What can I do to help them, to help people be less stressed? So I decided to write a piece of music called Kiva, A Journey Within. In my travels to the Southwest, I learned about kivas when I visited many Puebloan sites. Kivas were rooms built in these villages for religious, spiritual, and political meetings. I recorded the nature sounds at Joshua Tree National Park. I also intentionally wrote it with the tempo at 6 beats per minute, which is the average beats per minute of a human heart rate in a relaxed state. My hope is to entrain the 3 rhythms in your body to slow down. The version I am going to perform today is 4 minutes long, but if you would like to experience it in its original form, which is 6 minutes, you can find it on Spotify, Amazon Music, any of the streaming. So here is Kiva, A Journey Within. Go in, Chris. Go in.